These two people next to me have been at the very top echelon of media in New Zealand, and they left. We might even ask them why they left. Please welcome Tim Murphy, former editor of the New Zealand Herald, and Mark Jennings, former head of News and Current Affairs, founding head of News and Current Affairs, and there for a very, very long time. I'm very grateful to have both of them. Please welcome them. Well, guys, I was actually quite excited because DJ Liam, pointed out over a week ago that the Commerce Commission was due to drop its decision on the Fairfax NZME merger yesterday afternoon. I thought, wicked, we can talk about that. They haven't. Tim, do you have any idea why they would have asked for a 7-month extension?
Yeah.
Is it that hard?
I do. And it's partly because the Commerce Commission can't walk and eat at the same time. They don't have enough people. But it's also because they've discovered from the submissions that were made, and there were 50 or so, that people have got some concerns not just on the advertising and commercial side of it, but on the journalism side of it. And yesterday they came out and said, you know, we want to examine the issues of quality and accuracy, which was never something that the Commerce Commission would have entertained in the past.
That's really interesting. That's actually an unusual thing for the Commerce Commission to say, isn't it?
It was. And so they've gone from having a 3-month thing from May to August to November, which is when they're going to have the preliminary decision. Then a possible conference, a hearing on it where they interview people. So it's a much more serious look at media than people were expecting, than I was expecting, and I think it's going to be very good to actually thrash it out in advance of whatever happens.
Mark, I presume you're pleased by the delay and the extra consideration, because you're not a fan of the merger, are you?
No, I'm not a fan, Russell. I firmly believe it's very detrimental for the media in this country. I'm a huge fan of competition. I think competition leads to better journalism. It makes journalists strive harder, and I think this merger is, it's disastrous, really. I'm heartened by what Tim's saying, that the ComCom is going to take a more sophisticated and tougher look at it, and maybe this is a little bit of light in the tunnel here.
But, I mean, those two companies are in a difficult position. Newspaper revenues are tanking. Is there a way through this that solves that while maintaining the competition and dynamism that you enjoy?
Well, they're in a race to the bottom, from what I can see. It's just clickbait, 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 and I don't know. I think one of them should just stepped out of that race, frankly.
Which one? You volunteered. Yes.
Tim might have a view.
Well, look, I don't think it's just clickbait, because there's tremendous stuff being done through both those sites and through terrific journalists like Kirsty and others. But it has become a race to the bottom because of numbers. And there's a declaration, we need to be number one. And that fight overwhelmed everything to the point that, and look, Liam won't mind me saying, I hope, from his DJ platform, that, the Herald business site got great readership today over a fraudster in Australia. And that meant numbers for the business readership. It had probably, Liam, not so great a relevance to what business is being done here and how it's being done and what it's affecting New Zealand customers, but it does deliver readership. So once you declare we're going to go for readership only, and numbers only, then it changes the judgment. And I think that's an issue that it goes on through all digital media, obviously.
Well, it was actually Matt Nippert this week who tweeted the news that the Daily Mail, which is considered the exemplar of that kind of publishing, of clickbait publishing, and you'll read Daily Mail stories on the Herald website every day, only made £44 million, which sounds like a lot, but for the size of that organisation, it's not. I mean, is that advertising model even viable anymore?
I don't think it is. And I think, one of the things that's been going through my mind a lot is this tax on Facebook and Google. I really think that that needs to happen, and I think that the money that the government collects needs to go into two areas. I think it needs to go into tax breaks for traditional media who are trying to do quality journalism, and I think it needs to go into better funding of public media. I'm talking RNZ probably at this point, but I think there can be other forms of public interest media too.
What's going to make that happen though? Because the RNZ's been sitting there on an 8-year funding freeze, and Richard Griffin can huff and puff all he likes, but it doesn't appear the government is going to shift on that.
Maybe not, unless there is a grassroots movement. And I'm starting to sense that. I was at a conference talking in Wellington today about quality journalism, and you can sense that the population is getting a bit sick of all this. And but governments only move when that happens, and if they think they're going to lose at the ballot box, that will spur them. But there's some lobbying going on, and I think it's having some impact. Tim, do you have a view?
Look, I think, well, this government may not, but this government may not be much longer of this world either. And, you look at interestingly, the Spinoff poll that came out yesterday, the Auckland vote for party vote was fascinating, because Auckland may well not be sitting with National as it was. And if you start to get that going away on you, then bigger things happen down the track. Now, National may not be in the ascendancy, and therefore others with a different view of the value of Radio New Zealand, the value of journalism and information and the public good will come up.
We'll discuss that further later on, but you said Spinoff poll. Spinoff poll in association with Jennings Murphy. Is that the first time you've actually broken cover and done something?
It is the first thing we did. But all we did was talk people into it and then hand it over. So I don't think we got a brokerage fee.
Right. It's, in a sense, though, it's a classic establishment media move, isn't it? You make a poll because it generates news for you, and hopefully someone else reports it. And John Campbell, bless his heart, actually gave it quite a lot of airtime on his show.
Did he mention Jennings Murphy?
He mentioned Murphy.
Let's talk about Jennings Murphy, because it was very exciting when you announced it. You teased it on Twitter.
Yes.
What are these two men doing meeting in Titirangi? Where are you at with it? Do you have commercial clients yet?
Yes, we do. And so there's two parts to our business, if you like. There's the consultancy side, and the aim of that is just to tick us over a bit while we work on what we really want to do, and that's a new news platform. And we have been making progress on that. Tim will go and talk at length about this, because we've talked to nearly everybody in New Zealand about it. We've been taking our time because, as everybody, well, lots of people in this room know, and I've been talking to them tonight, it's tricky, it's hard, including you, Russell. So we don't want to lose anybody's money, and we don't want to lose our own, and we want to go into it with the right values and the right resourcing. So we make no apology for taking our time, but we have got closer in the last few days, actually.
So close that yesterday we were walking along the street after a meeting, which was a good meeting, and Mark stopped me and said, "I think we could be in business." And this is after 3 months and about 150 people meetings we've had. But yeah, things might come together quite swiftly now, because some good things are possible. Yeah.
So we're talking about this being the news site.
Yeah, news and current affairs site, and working with collaborating really with some other media and some other tech people. Yeah.
Will the commercial consulting side of the business remain in operation? Oh, I'm not judging, actually. I'm interested.
No, not sure in terms of the current consulting we're doing. We're doing a bit of media training, and our media training is very much of the, we call it fronting up. And that's basically to tell people to get out and approach the media in a way that is with integrity and early and senior and open. So we're coming from a very journalistic background to that. But that's been something that's been quite good, and we've done a bit of that. Not a lot well, none. No PR in the sense of the classic PR. But what we hope to do is to be able to do a mix on the site of straight out news journalism and corporate storytelling, defined and transparent. Duncan and the guys are doing it at Spinoff pretty bloody well, and that kind of model, which we think there is room for, so long as you're showing what it is and where it is. And a lot of it will be video storytelling, we hope.
That was actually going to be my next question, because I'm not sure whether everyone knows how the Spinoff operates. They employ, 12, 13 staff, and it's magnificent. But those staff will, in the course of a working day, turn around and make commercial content for paying clients, and then turn back to the editorial stuff. And I think they manage it really well. Do you think that is that a model for the future?
I think it's one of the models, to be honest, Russell, and I don't think it's a model that it does have its problems, because independence from the people that you cover is still an important part of quality journalism in my mind. So I think the model does have its challenges, but then it comes down to, how do you make journalism pay? How do you raise enough revenue to do it? And like Tim, I have a lot of admiration for Duncan and his team doing this, and they are treading a fine line, though. I think it's sort of incumbent on all of us to keep ourselves honest around this, and if we have a vibrant media scene in this country, then it will keep everybody honest.
The other thing I think that I find really interesting in media is the rise of is advocacy media. We've seen Transport Blog, we've seen Greenpeace hire Tim McKinnell as an investigator, and they have, in the course of doing that, radically raised the level of information available in the public sphere on their issues. And I'm also aware that my best gig is with the Drug Foundation magazine, which is an advocacy group. What do you make of that? It's filling a gap, but are there risks there too?
Yes and no. I think a lot of what's coming from those sort of groups is absolutely adding to what we know and what we should know, and it's filling gaps that the mainstream has had to withdraw from over time. So no, I don't see it as a negative at all. The more information, the merrier, so long as there are still people who are detached and able to say, well, hang on, that's pushing a certain slant. And I made a big mistake, as you noted to me. In last weekend, a weekend before last, I was ill, and over 2 days I engaged in a flame war with the Transport Blog lobby, who are far more informed on everything to do with transport than I am. And I wouldn't have done it if I wasn't sick, but I had time, and I shouldn't have. And never mix politics, religion, sex, or transport in any public discussion. So look, but these are people. The people who do it are informed and are really working hard to put information out there. I applaud it.
They value facts, and actually that takes me something to Mark that I gather you said in Wellington today, that views are replacing news. Can you expand on that?
Yes, and it's interesting because I see that Spinoff is mainly a views and commentary site, and it's successful, so I'm not negative on it, but I think it has to sit alongside strong, real reporting, and I think it also has to sit alongside investigative reporting, and it's part of the mix. I think it's getting too much of the mix personally, and I think it's cheap, it's easy to do, you don't have to go anywhere, you just sit down, read something, write about it, sit down, watch something, write about it. It doesn't require real reporting, it doesn't require going out and actually collecting the facts. So that was my point at the conference today. Thank you.
One clap.
Okay. Now, Wellington gave me more claps, actually, and I like Wellington because the people down there are more engaged in politics and they're more engaged in local body politics as well. And I think Auckland is a wee bit apathetic about this at times. Don't think we get out enough and vote. Only 10% of people that rented houses in Auckland that were under 30 voted at the last local body elections. That is courtesy of Bernard Hickey, he told me that today. So yeah, I'm a wee bit down on views. I think it's fine as long as it's balanced with real journalism.
I would point out that you managed Patrick Gower, who I think has editorialised more than any other political editor in history.
Well, no one manages Patrick. You don't manage him. You just,
You point him at things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Paddy breaks stories too, and he does plenty of real journalism in my view, and a very good journalist in my view.
Yeah, no, that's true. Tim, I first came across you as an editor who would never be interviewed, who never said anything, would never come on my TV show, and all of a sudden you became quite voluble and
You're everywhere.
expansive on Twitter, and you're everywhere, particularly since you've left the corporate media. What happened?
Two things. When I took over as editor of the paper, we'd had an editor who had been extremely high profile, extremely controversial, and left the paper in dire circumstances. I made a pledge to myself, I kept my head down, just keep doing what the paper's team needed doing and not engage. And so that was probably small-minded, now I think about it, but it was a sort of a defensive thing just to approach as was. Since I've left the paper, I also realised I've been way too tribal. I was way too tribal. And because I didn't need to engage that much with other competitors and others in the media, I didn't. And ever since, and all the people we've encountered since, I realised how that wasn't the right approach. And so now I'm trying to do that and to
Well, I think
engage.
you're enjoying it.
Yeah. Well, there's another reason here, Russell, that no one's touched on. He's a shit stirrer. And he enjoys it, and I'm trying to pull him back all the time, which is unusual for me. Anyway.
Whereas you, Mark, on the other hand, have a Twitter account that has never posted a tweet.
No, because
You are lurking.
because I'm scared of Twitter, frankly. I don't really like Twitter, and I don't know about it. I've become a Facebook fan, and I think Facebook is a great platform, sort of in many ways, for pseudo reporting. I like it, but I just don't like Twitter.
Actually, I mean, the interesting thing is there's a lot more people. We only confirmed it today that we'd have a Facebook live stream, and a lot more people have watched the Facebook live stream than the YouTube stream that we've been pimping for 2 weeks, which suggests that media have to make their peace with these big organisations, and particularly Facebook. How do we do it?
Yeah, well, I think, I was looking, there's a thing Google are doing now where if you are doing investigations, I think they call it living stories, and you can get yourself up the rankings by doing this. And I think something like that is a positive from Google. But again, I just go back to this thing. I think they are really dodging their responsibility, and somehow they're going to have to be shamed into this. And I don't know how to do that, but it's got to happen.
A levy on them is a really nice suggestion. Maybe a levy on Sky TV as well.
Live on 95.
95.5 on Radio B.